So if any of you guys have watched my other videos, you might know that I have some pretty strong controversial opinions about LEGO Star Wars. So today I wanted to talk about what I think are the top 10 most overrated LEGO Star Wars sets. As always, these are my opinions, so if you have a different opinion, make sure to voice it in the comments. And I don't usually say this at the beginning of my videos, but if you're new, please consider subscribing. It'll help out a lot. As always, before we get to the top 10, I want to kick things off with our honorable mentions. First off, we have 75309 Republic Gunship. Now there's just a few things that I don't like about this set. The first being, which is what everyone basically agrees with, is that the minifigures were just not very good. For some reason they decided to throw in Mace Windu, which didn't make much sense to me, and then they just included a generic Phase 1 clone commander which appeared in 2 other sets. I think they should have just included 2 exclusive clone pilots with arm printing and this really wouldn't have been an issue. Now on the flip side of things, the model is absolutely amazing. I kind of have a nitpick for oversized UCS sets, as you'll see later on in the video, but this set is definitely an exception. It's absolutely enormous and it looks amazing on display. Moving on to our second honorable mention, we have 75187 BB-8. This set is great for what it is, but when it came out, I think it got a little too much attention for what it deserved. There's really only one thing I don't like about this set, and that is how they attached the head. They did it in a way to where the complete sphere of the body could not be completed, and I'm sure they could have found another method to attach the head, maybe by Technic pieces or something else. Moving on to our last honorable mention, I'm going with 7778 midi scale Millennium Falcon. Now I've never really thought very highly of the 2 midi scale sets that came out, but I think the Millennium Falcon is just a little bit worse than the Star Destroyer. The Star Destroyer looks nice, it's a great model, and it's very accurate. The Millennium Falcon, on the other hand, just looks kind of weird, especially the cockpit piece. It makes the whole set kind of look disproportional because it's a little bit too small. But other than that, this set is pretty good for what it is, and that's why I included it as an honorable mention and not in the main list. Alright, now getting into our main list, starting off with number 10. Now the reason I put this set in the list might just be because I hate the sequel so much, but I just really don't like this set. Despite how many people like it, I honestly think LEGO should have never made it. But I'm talking about 75230 Porg. I mean, the set itself is pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit inaccurate because like the belly is a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be and the legs aren't as tall and as skinny as they're supposed to be. But other than that, this set is pretty good. But honestly, I just really don't like Porgs. That's one of the reasons The Last Jedi was ruined for me. But I think if LEGO wanted to make a buildable character from the sequel so bad, they could have made one of those crystal foxes that were seen on Crate. Or what I personally would have loved, I think they should have made a buildable version of Babu Freak. This would have been amazing. It would have been so much better than the Porg we got. But instead, LEGO decided to go with the creature that everyone supposedly loves, and all in all just added to the cringeness of The Last Jedi. Moving on to number 9, I'm going with 75144 Snowspeeder. Now I'm sure many of you have heard my spiel about oversized UCS sets. In fact, I just talked about it with the gunship. But one thing for me about UCS sets is the idea of them being minifigure scale. So I think it's kind of odd how LEGO will take ships that are big enough to be minifigure scale at play size and turn them into UCS sets. And don't get me wrong, they're all absolutely amazing display pieces, especially the Snowspeeder. I just personally wish LEGO would make more minifigure scale UCS sets. Now in terms of the model itself, it looks really good. It's extremely detailed, it's extremely accurate. The minifigures are nice too, except it's kind of weird that it even comes with minifigures. I mean, I get that they're there to display, but they can't even fit inside the cockpit. So I just feel like this set got a little too much hype when it first came out. Moving on to our number 8 spot, I'm going with 75243 Slave 1 20th Anniversary Edition. Now this set is actually pretty great, especially the exclusive minifigures. It's all just pretty good. What gets me though is that it had a price tag of $120 and the model is not that big. Excluding the 2015 UCS Slave 1, I think the 2006 Slave 1 to this day is still the best model we've gotten. And that model was way bigger than this one and it was less than half the price. Other than that, this set is really impressive. It's also pretty impressive that they managed to pack 1,000 pieces into a model that's smaller than the 2006 version. I think they definitely put in a lot of effort to the accuracy of the model, but I just don't think it was big enough for the price. Moving on to our number 7 spot, I'm going with 75292 the Razor Crest. Now I don't really have a whole lot against this set. I think it was just overpriced and the model was not very accurate. The minifigures were pretty average too. All in all, I just think it got a little too much praise when it first came out, but that's really all I have to say. Moving on to our number 6 spot, I'm going with 75322 Hoth ATST. The reason this set has gotten so much attention is because it's the only ATST we've ever gotten that was based on Hoth, and it still has that one main problem that all the ATSTs have, which is that there's not enough room for 2 drivers in the cockpit. Everyone knows ATSTs have 2 drivers, and I wish LEGO would just include that in a set already. Now moving on to the minifigures, I really like the probe droid actually. I just think Chewbacca's a bit odd to be in this set. I think it should have been a stormtrooper or a snowtrooper, or they could have just raised the price and added another ATST driver and made it a little bit bigger to hold too. But realistically, I don't think it should have come with Chewbacca. But other than that, this set is really good. It has 580 pieces and it retails for $50. It's all just a great deal. I just think it's a little bit overhyped. Moving on to our number 5 spot, I'm going with 8039 Venator class Republic Attack Cruiser. Now lately for the past few years, this has really been the set that everyone started to pick on for some reason. It's always everyone's number 1 spot for being the most overrated set. It's always getting picked on for not being super accurate to the real Venator, and people are also saying it's out of date. And honestly, I just wanted to give it some slack, so I had to put it at number 5. The set itself is not bad. The main problem is the middle portion where it bulges up a little bit and forces the whole front panel to slope downwards, when in universe the Venators are completely flat in the front. And there's plenty of mods people have made. You can find tutorials for them everywhere pretty much. And also I feel like they could have made it come into a little bit more of a point and rounded it off more. But other than that, there's not really anything wrong with the model itself. Now excluding the model, there's one thing I don't like about this set, and that's that it includes the Chancellor and 2 Senate Commandos. I don't understand why they had to put the Chancellor in this set. It was kind of just random. I really wish LEGO included more clone troopers and maybe just 1 Jedi, just Obi-Wan, Yoda. I think Yoda would actually have been probably perfect for this set. But if they would have just done that, included Yoda, maybe another clone trooper, 2 more clone troopers, it would have made this set so much better. But instead they decided to throw in the Chancellor and 2 Senate Commandos, which makes this set just like, I don't even know, it kind of just ruins the whole Clone Wars value of it. But other than those things, which are pretty small nitpicks, this set is very iconic and it's the only Venator we've ever gotten, so I mean we obviously got to be thankful for it, and it's still a fan favorite to this day. Alright guys, moving on to our number 4 spot, I'm going with 8037 Anakin's Y-Wing Starfighter. Now I know this really probably is a controversial pick for number 4, even to just be on this list, this is pretty controversial. And don't get me wrong, the model itself is so good. This might be the cleanest LEGO Star Wars Starfighter that came out in 2009. It's sleek, it's really accurate, and it's just a clean looking build. But the one thing I don't like about this set, which is a pretty big thing, it's also the same thing that I didn't like about the Venator, and that is that it does not come with very good minifigures. Now I know it is titled Anakin's Y-Wing Starfighter, but I really wish it would have just been a normal Republic Y-Wing Starfighter, so we would have got clone pilots and more clone troopers. But instead they decided to include Anakin and Ahsoka, which was just so weird to me. And like I already said, don't get me wrong, the model is so good. It's probably one of the best Clone Wars Starfighters we've ever gotten. It's just, why could it have not been a normal Clone Wars Y-Wing that included a clone pilot and maybe another clone trooper, maybe a battle droid too. Now we're finally at our top 3, and I'm not gonna lie, these are probably the most controversial picks on this list. Without further ado, starting off at number 3, I'm going with 75192 Millennium Falcon. Now if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I think this set is kind of a gimmick for being advertised as the biggest LEGO Star Wars set ever made. I mean, and obviously it is the biggest LEGO Star Wars set ever made, but I think that advertising really overrated the set. At most, I think this is probably a top 5 UCS set. I know a lot of people say it's number 1, but it's not even close to number 1 in my opinion. LEGO pretty much presented this set as being like the biggest, the most detailed, the most advanced, and like the best LEGO Star Wars set ever made. And there's still one crucial thing that they left out, which I talked about in one of my last videos. I think this is really important, and specifically what I'm talking about, as you can see in this photo right here, and it's that there are no hallways, and there hasn't been any hallways in any of the LEGO Millennium Falcons ever made, either UCS or Playscale. And I think for LEGO putting in all this effort to make this set this big, this expensive, and like this grand, I really think the least they could have done is add the complete hallway. Now another thing I don't like about this set is that it's clearly catered more to the sequels than it is to the original trilogy. I know they wanted to make it to where you can switch it out between the different eras, like switching off the radar dish and having the new minifigures and having old Han Solo and young Han Solo, but I clearly think there's more sequels content than there is original trilogy content, and that's kind of where the set starts to go downhill. I think there should have been more original trilogy minifigures included in this set. I think the 2 Porgs should have been replaced with Luke and Lando, and then we didn't even get an R2 minifigure either. They decided to put BB-8 in the set instead of R2. I know LEGO claimed they were aiming to be able to recreate every version of the Millennium Falcon, but it's just blatantly obvious that they were targeting the sequels way more than they were the original trilogy. Moving on to our number 2 spot, I'm going with 10123 Cloud City. Alright, now let's actually think realistically about this set. So let's exclude all the minifigures and look at the actual build. It looks like something I could have made when I was 8 years old just from a big bin of old LEGO parts. I mean, yeah, I get the Boba Fett, the Lando, the Luke Skywalker, all those super valuable and sought after minifigures, but let's be honest, the build itself is not very good. Now, do I think it's dumb that the value is so high even though the build is not very good? Well, actually no, all those minifigures separately can easily add up to over $3,000, but still the build is just not very good. And honestly, I think everyone can agree that this set is only talked about because of the minifigures, and the actual set overall is not the best. Now moving on to our number 1 spot, some of you probably saw this coming from a mile away, but again, I'm going with 75341 Luke Skywalker's Landspeeder. Now I've talked about how much I don't like this set countless times on this channel now. And I'm gonna be quick, but I guess I gotta say it one more time. We did not need this as a UCS set. I don't know whose idea it was. I know the rumor for this started back in like 2014 for this to be a UCS set. And ever since then, I was like, no, we don't need this. It's way too small of a ship. A UCS set would just not look good. And then in 2022, they finally made it, and it still doesn't look that great in my opinion. I mean, yeah, the build is accurate and all of that, but like on display, it just looks odd because it's so oversized. It's just ridiculous. And really the only good thing that comes from this set is the exclusive C-3PO. But I'm not going to go any more in depth because you guys have heard my spiel about this set a million times. So therefore, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new, please consider subscribing. If you disagree with this list, which I know most of you probably do, please voice your opinion in the comments. And now that it's all said and done, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.